Yeah, the question was transmission of disease from cows to horses. So well, you've got cows in adjacent fields from horses, so the risk is going to be very low. So there are certain things that can go between horses and cattle. Salmonella is going to be a big one. Kind of one of the first one that would jump to mind. Now, again, it comes down to thinking about how things are transmitted. So we think about what diseases we're worried about, what things how they're transmitted. So if I had a cow and a horse in the same pasture, then all the things that are on that cow or coming out that cow's rear end or close contact is a risk. If the cow is now in the field next door, a lot of the things that we have to deal with don't spread very far in the air. Some of the influenza, herpes virus, some of those will spread over maybe the distance of this room with kind of a good cough. Most of the things we have are, most of the diseases we see are contact or maybe aerosol transmission. Aerosol is kind of droplet, like the splash zone transmission. You're talking, you're probably outside of that range now. Some things can get in the air and waft away. I don't think of anything offhand that would be cattle to horse over a reasonable distance. Now, there's always the chance of things moving one way or the other. So if you've got a cattle field and they've got salmonella there, in a horse field here, now the cattle and the horses may not mix, but the raccoons and other things might, or the runoff might. So that's one of the things we need to think about. So if you've got a farm where you've got a cattle farm next door, yeah, maybe salmonella is a bigger concern. So if your horses have diarrhea, that's going to be higher on the list. If you've got a high-risk horse that's on antibiotics, maybe you want to keep it away from that closer contact with it. Probably not a lot of big things that would come up, but it's certainly something to think about. And I guess that's part of the whole picture is what are the risks to your farm. So if you have cattle next door, that's what I would be a little bit more concerned about. Salmonella is not exactly rampantly endemic in cattle in Ontario, but it never hurts to talk to your neighbors too. What problems do they see and what problems do they see from you? And you probably get more information from them if you say, okay, let's talk together and figure out what our risks to each other are. Yeah, so yeah. If it's a beef cow farm versus a dairy cow farm, there'll be different issues and different ways of control. Yeah, it's tough. So going to a show, what do you do in terms of when you get there? So bring as much of your own stuff as possible is good. So if again, the common sense stuff is your horse healthy, if you got your own tack and buckets and all that, that's fine. When you get there, yeah, part of it depends how far you want to go, realistically, and depends on how long ago a horse was there. If you're going there and 10 minutes before you, a horse left, and you're going into a stall there, that's a different situation than if the horses were there a week ago. So if it's a weekend type thing. Closer the time, the greater the risk. And part of it comes down to risk aversion. If you go in there and there's manure in there, that's going to be a bigger risk than if it's been cleaned out. Something that looks clean isn't bacteria virus free at all. Means part of it comes down to your risk aversion too. Like if you're really worried about it, it's not hard to do a little bit of disinfection. You can have a sprayer with the good disinfectant. You can spray down an area before you go in. People might look at you and think you're crazy. But that's part of it is it's probably overall a low yield thing because probably the risk of picking up something from a clean stall is very low, but it's certainly not zero. Yeah, so so what's a good disinfectant? It's kind of a loaded question because again, it's like vaccination. What is best vaccination program? When it comes to disinfectants, so things we're thinking about is how broadly things they kill. So bleach is very good in terms of what it can kill. Virkon, it's another oxidizing agent. Virkon, V-I-R-K-O-N is the brand name. It's a very good oxidizing agent as well. It's kind of does similar things to bleach. A related one is a stabilized form of peroxide, of hydrogen peroxide. Excel is one of the brand names. Peroxigard is another. It's got some advantages over bleach and Virkon, and it's less caustic, and it breaks down into water. It's got some really nice properties too. It's more expensive is the problem. So that's kind of I think, again, your things that kill a lot. Then you've got a whole range of things you can buy in the tack shop and stores that are, if you look at a label and it says, you see a lot of different letters and a lot of different numbers and you see ammonium or something in there, it's a quaternary ammonium disinfectant. Those are pretty good for routine situations. Bleach, so in terms of what do you want to kill? If you want to kill everything, the oxidizing agents are great. If you're just kind of a routine, lower risk level disinfection, probably anything is fine. If you're going to disinfect an area that's kind of dirty, then bleach isn't a great option because it gets inactivated really well. Bleach also is kind of irritating. I probably wouldn't go in and bleach a stall right next to someone else's horse just because those bleach fumes are going to waft over. That's where kind of a safer disinfectant is kind of nice. But it really comes down to the scenario, and that's where just kind of thinking about what's the real risk of exposure? If it's just kind of a lower level thing, a healthy horse in a relatively clean environment, then probably any disinfectant, as long as you use it properly and it's a clean surface. With disinfectants, things to pay attention to are dilution, because usually we get them as concentrated form. So you have to dilute them right. If you over dilute them, you're maybe not getting any effect. If you under dilute them, you're wasting money and you're maybe making it more toxic to yourself. Contact time is a big thing. So you can't put a disinfectant on something and wipe it right off. You need 10, 20, 30 minutes, depending, like 5 to 20 minutes realistically, depending on the disinfectant. So it has to have some time to sit there. And then the clean surface. If it's dirty, if it's porous, this surface, this type of floor, really, really easy to disinfect. Wood, difficult. Dirt, bad. We can't really disinfect dirt. So the surface you're trying to disinfect will target it to a degree. Bleach and organic debris and dirt and everything don't go very well. Some things are a little bit better with that. So again, you have to kind of think about your situation. So if you're going to a show and you just wanted to have kind of a good level, let's just give a general disinfectant to the area. I'm not really concerned about a lot, and I've got a relatively low-risk horse, and I'm doing everything else. Any of the quaternary ammonium disinfectants or the oxidizing agents would be fine, probably. Yep. Is lime a good disinfectant? Lime's pretty caustic. So there'd be few situations where I could see using lime. Yeah, there's a lot of better options. They're going to be a lot safer and easier to use.
No, I just see a lot of horsemen using lime.
Yeah, spraying. Yeah, it's probably more for ammonia, more for killing some of the bacteria that are producing ammonia as it is for like a true level disinfectant. Again, if you're throwing in that dirt floor, normal disinfectant is not going to do much anyway. So as a regular disinfectant, so lime's being used probably in a different area than true as a disinfectant.
They pour it on where the horse urinates.
Yeah, it's probably not doing a whole lot in the big picture. Yeah. Yeah. Ideally, any stall should be sealed. So sealing is the key. If it's brick or if it's cement block, those are all same as wood. They're all porous. So painting is good. So general line is 2 coats of like a marine quality varnish is probably top notch. So the stuff it's designed to keep water out. So marine varnish is fine. Just any good paint is probably fine. A couple coats, and it's just a matter of paying attention to it, because it gets chipped all the time, right? The horses kick it, and like you don't need to get in there 5 minutes later and fix up the spot. It's just it's a good periodic thing to do. So if you got a stall, seal it by painting it, and then the higher risk stall you pay more attention to. If it's a foaling stall or an isolation stall, I'm going to be a lot more diligent in repainting that or filling cracks than if it's a run-of-the-mill stall, which maybe you do it every couple of years or whenever it looks really bad. If it's a foaling stall, you might do it before every foaling season or even more regularly than that, because I want it off. If it's an area that I'm actually going to spend a lot of time disinfecting, so cleaning it, putting a disinfectant on, then I want to have a good surface. If it's a normal stall where I'm not going to disinfect all that often, I'm not going to worry about it as much.